Welcome back to the channel, guys, and to stage one of our Grand Cherokee Trackhawk build. So we're going to be doing over the next few months some upgrades to our Grand Cherokee Trackhawk, and to keep things interesting, our friend from White Rock Dodge is currently building up his Challenger Hellcat. Now we're going to be kind of combining both builds over the next few months here, doing some dyno testing, and at the end of the time it's all going to culminate with him and I laying it out on the drag strip when the track opens back up in the spring. So what we've got today is the JLT cold air intake. We're going to install it on the Trackhawk, and right now it just showed up in the mail the other day, and it's the one day it's not going to be raining for a few weeks here. What I'm going to do, I want to do a dyno comparison, and we are going to have a dyno day set up with Rich and his Hellcat as well. So when the time comes that we do that actual dyno, I'm going to bring the stock intake back with me and compare dyno numbers with the stock intake and with the JLT. But for today, we're just going to get it installed and all set up. So let's get to it. Okay, so before we install our JLT cold air intake, we're going to install the JLT catch can. Now what the catch cans do, they just help catch any oil vapors in the PCV system, and instead of them getting sucked back into your intake, they hold it in the can here and you just empty it every oil change. Helps keep the engine cleaner and running better over time. So it's going to be a super easy installation. I'm just going to pull the engine cover off here, or pull it up anyway. And on the Trackhawk, you've got your PCV hose, goes from the lower blower snout here to the passenger side valve cover. So what you're going to do is pull this guy out, and you can just pull that right off. So this is what the tab looks like when it's locked. Press that up and down. So there's actually, I can already see a decent amount of oil in here that would have got sucked back into the intake. So you can actually see some oil residue here. So the catch can is definitely going to help keep our engine running cleaner for longer. Now with the factory hose out of the way, we're going to open up our hardware packet here. This is going to be the bracket that holds the catch can to the engine, and it also comes with a couple nuts and a couple screws. So the first thing you're going to want to do is down here behind the supercharger belt, you can see there's a stud here. So you install one of these nuts backwards, which the bracket is going to rest up against. So we'll do that on there loosely for now, so we can set up our clearances after. Slide the bracket on. And we're going to use the other nut the proper way, start to snug this up. Okay, so now that we've got our bracket loosely installed, it's time to mount our catch can to it. So what you're going to do is take the hose on the T side, or the driver's side of the catch can. That gets routed behind the bracket, and that one gets plugged in to the passenger side valve cover, like so. And the J, or the driver's side, mounts to the snout side here. So after you've got the PCV hoses connected for the catch can, you're going to use the two supplied screws and mount the catch can to the bracket. They're just Phillips head screws. Alright, so now we've got the catch can mounted to the bracket, and now what we can do is line it up and tighten it down. And that's it, guys. So it's all mounted, all tightened down. Now all you have to do every couple thousand miles or oil change interval, you just unscrew the bottom part of the can here. And you'll empty out any oil that's been collected in the can. Now let's get to the intake. So here's the new JLT intake tube. Now this is where the IAT sensor goes. So inside the box with the intake, they include a gasket and a new plate that the IAT sensor screws into, along with 4 screws. So the first thing we're going to do is take our gasket and our plate, line it up, and then we're going to put the 4 Phillips head screws in to secure it. Okay, and now here's the tube with the IAT sensor plate installed. Now we're going to go and remove the stock intake from the Trackhawk. Okay, so to take the stock intake off, we're just going to unbolt the clamp at the throttle body, loosen that off. We're going to pull off the IAT sensor and the PCV hose, and then this is just all going to lift off in one piece. Now that that's out of the way, we're going to disconnect this just plug holding this electrical wire to this bottom piece, and we're going to lift that out as well. So the next step is going to be to take this push pin out that holds the washer fluid bottle and grab a pair of pliers, and on the hose clamp for the top radiator hose, we're going to rotate it so the ears of the clamp are facing up. Okay, so now we've got the stock intake and the JLT, and we're going to transfer over the intake air temperature sensor and the PCV fitting to the spots on the JLT intake. Okay, so we've moved over the PCV elbow and the intake air temperature sensor to the JLT intake. They're very simple, just twist and pull kind of deal. One tip for the intake air temperature sensor, the O-ring on it, just rub a light coat of oil around this O-ring, helps it go in a little easier into the JLT intake, and also ensures you're not going to tear it if it gets caught or anything like that. So now the rest of the installation will happen on the vehicle. Okay, so the next step here is going to be to install our heat shield, and it just goes in between the washer tank here, and it rests on a stud down here. They also give you a push pin that you can use to secure it to this stud, so we'll get that into position now. Now you can install the push pin between the heat shield and the washer tank. Okay, so next you're going to want to take the elbow, attach it to the intake tube, and now we're going to slide that through the hole in the intake here, rotate, and slide it all on. So with it slid on, now you're just going to want to keep everything loose so that you can kind of line everything up, get your filter on, and get it all set up properly, and then tighten everything down. So for now, we're going to line all this up to try to get the PCV lined up. Okay, so now we've got the IAT sensor and the PCV plugged in. It was a little bit of a pain in the ass to plug the PCV in. It was a lot of rotating, moving stuff around. And don't be afraid to put a little bit of tension on it, but finally got that done. I snugged the hose clamp up a little bit to the throttle body. I still have this one to the tube loose, and now we're going to install our filter. So the kit comes with a very big filter manufactured by S&B for JLT, and we're going to slide that on, and then we're pretty much done. Okay, so first impressions with the JLT cold air installed. Wow, this thing has all of the whine. This is what it sounds like with the stock intake during some moderate acceleration. So you can hear just a little bit of that supercharger whine come through, but now this is what it sounds like with the JLT. Here's some part throttle. And that's with the window, of course, closed. And the Grand Cherokees have very, very good sound insulation. They're very quiet inside. Now, if I crack the window, it's loud. You'll hear the supercharger before the exhaust. Ooh, it never did that before. We got a little pop, couple little pops there from the exhaust on the deceleration. That was pretty cool. So it does feel a bit stronger. The throttle response feels better. I would say it's definitely a good purchase. JLT claims, I think it's around 37 horsepower and 30 pound-feet of torque. I'll put the actual numbers down below here. But yeah, I think the JLT cold air intake is a great purchase. It, yeah, definitely feels stronger. And of course, the sound is just awesome. Finally hearing that supercharger sound. But that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Soon, we're gonna get this thing on a dyno. We're gonna compare the JLT cold air intake to the stock intake. And we've got the next round of mods we're gonna order up pretty quick. We're going to be doing a pulley, injectors, and a tune. And we're probably going to do a few other mods as well. So stay tuned. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.